Okay, Happy New Year and welcome to our January Development Activities Meeting. This is our 13th DAM, and since this is the beginning of 2022, I just wanted to share that in 2020 we held 6 meetings and the same for 2021. So if you'd like to learn, you can go to the agenda, Phil. If you'd like to learn more about the Southside Community Council and or the registered community organization process, you can visit our website, southsidecommunitycouncil.org, and then scroll down to news and information, and you'll see the RCO process. Before we begin, as we look at the agenda, Phil our host, will explain how attendees can participate. We have 5 presentations this evening. The top 4 will be presenting to the HRC in later months, and 407 Cinema Drive will present before the Planning Commission. And I'll just say at this point, because we have 5, if we all can, I think it's important that the presenters get the necessary feedback that they need in order to be able to go before the HRC, the zoning, or the Planning Commission. So let's be very focused in our questions and our comments so that they will be helpful to us as a community, and also they as presenters. And after each one of the projects we'll talk about next steps. So Phil, you can share.
All right, thank you, Barbara. I'm Philip Wu with the City of Pittsburgh Department of City Planning. As Barbara mentioned, I'm going to be going over here on the slide a few logistical items in terms of participating in this virtual meeting. First, if anyone has any technical issues or needs any assistance, please use the chat feature to ping me, and I'll try to help you out. And yeah, since we have 5 projects on the agenda tonight, we're going to have question and answer after each presentation. So after each presentation, if folks have questions for the applicants, please use the Q&A tool to type out those questions or comments. Or if you'd like to ask your question out loud, you can press *9 if you're on your phone, or the raise hand button if you're on the Zoom app. And I will unmute you when we're ready to have you ask your question. For our presenters tonight, we ask that you be mindful of any attendees who may be on their phones or who may not be in front of their computers, and to try your best to describe what's on each of your slides. And as I mentioned a little earlier, I may have to change some folks' status. If you're an attendee, may have to change you to a panelist. So if that happens, please don't restart Zoom or quit Zoom. Just wait for a reconnection circle, and it'll bring you back into the meeting as a panelist. And last thing is that we are recording this meeting for the Southside Community Council to post online if so desired, or just to share with anyone who wasn't able to attend. And with that, I think we can get started. Our first project is for the front facade and signage work proposed at 1210 East Carson Street. I believe we have Ashley Lewis and Jim Smith who will be presenting on this project. If one of you would like to share your screen.
All right, guys. So like Philip said, we are proposing our facade renovation for 1210 East Carson Street. This is just kind of a site map showing where we're located on East Carson Street. This used to be previously Dave's Music Store. We're right across the street from Urban Tap. The dry cleaners is right next door to us. Just kind of get an idea of where we fall at on East Carson Street. This is the current facade. As you can see, it's kind of in deteriorating condition. The wood sign band is starting to rot from just being out in the weather for so many years. The paint's all faded and chipping. As well as you can see, the entrance point does not meet ADA accessibility in its current state. Anything else you'd like to add, Jim?
No, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, guys, we still have some people in the office working late, a little loud in the background here. So it currently does not meet accessibility standards. You can see the step going up in there. It angles back pretty far into the space. And like I said, it's just deteriorating. That basement door to entrance on the sidewalks falling in, it needs replaced. The wood is in poor condition. Paint's chipping, it just needs a refresh. So this is the proposed look for the facade renovation. We do have a new restaurant moving in called the Wow Guys. This will be a franchise. Their corporate is located out of New York. So we would keep the sign band as the same. We would replace any of the rotting wood, rebuild it to look exactly the same what it is. Just make sure it is structurally sound and good. And we would repaint it to go with the corporation's color schemes, as well as place new signage for the store on it, following the Southside sign code to be backlit letters, and sizing is all falling into the sign code. And then we would replace the storefront, keeping with as close as possible to the current storefront. Sizing's all the same, keeping that center entrance and the step back, but we would be upgrading it to meet ADA accessibility.
Yeah, so currently what happens with the storefront is when you walk in when you step up to 5 inches and then walk towards the entrance door, it narrows. So it's on an angle, it's like 45-degree angle that narrows down to the door, which doesn't meet handicap accessibility. So what we're proposing here with the new storefront is to take the elements of the storefront, match them, except for where the door is, we recessed it, but we need to have that 18 inches on the side of the door to allow for the pole clearance. And with that, what we'll do is we'll set the entrance so that it meets handicap accessibility for that 5-inch step is going to go away essentially. And it's actually talked about that the front metal door access to the basement is in terrible shape, and we are proposing to remove it and replace it with new.
And then this just gives everyone an idea of at night how the sign would be backlit to follow the sign code that applies to the East Carson Street district. And that's it for our presentation. So we can take questions and feedback now.
Do you mind flipping back to the existing conditions and just holding there for a few seconds so people can digest that image and then go back to your proposed? Or can you do a side by side possibly?
Yeah, we can't do side by side, but if we go back, we can kind of do this for you, if that works.
That works.
So if you remember, I'm sure everybody remembers Dave's Music Store was there forever. They had that little mezzanine up top where that large glass window is. When you walk in there, there's a ceiling over those entrances. The mezzanine didn't go up that far to the front of the building. But all we've done is essentially put a mullion going across the middle of it and split it into two. So that's still going to be glass in there, and you'll still have good visual of the space. And again, like Ashley said, the sign ban, we like it. I mean, we're good with it. We like what it's doing. We're just going to replace all the damaged pieces, sanding, filling, dealing with all those things so that we can bring it back to its original luster. Obviously, the color's different. This is actually going to be the second Halal Guys location. The first location is up on Forbes Avenue, 3621 Forbes, and that will open up in about a month.
I'll let Peter or Bob jump in first. If you guys want to.
Sure. I can jump in. So Ashley, and I'm sorry, who's the other fellow speaking here?
Jim?
Yeah, thank you. You guys have read the East Carson Street Historic District Guidelines?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the things we'll see, first of all, I think repainting and dealing with the signboard and basically making repairs in kind is fine. I don't think we would have an issue with that. I think the signage looks like it's compliant. That's fine. And the illumination of the signage is fine. There may be a problem with the two lights that you have on the piers, in that to mount those lights, you're probably either going to bury a back box into the stone architectural feature, or you're going to have conduit running up and down the facade. So those are probably not going to be satisfactory in our minds. And I don't think they're necessary, but we could talk about that. And the issue with the storefront is going to be a significant issue. That's probably not the original storefront when the building was built. It looks like from about the 20s or 30s, there were PPG systems and a few other manufactured storefront systems that are in the district that looks like, with those very thin metal mullions, and but the base there looks like it's been tweaked a bit or changed. The wood base of that storefront doesn't look original either, but most of that is fairly intact and is old enough to be considered historic at this point. So likely we're not going to support the demolition of that storefront. You mentioned the ADA issues. We get that. But in terms of the historic district, others have overcome those issues and or have gotten some type of waiver. And I don't know if Jody or Mike or anybody else knows how that's done. You could probably handle the step with some type of regrading and repouring of the sidewalk or some other ramp that makes that transition there. But it's very likely nobody's going to be able to support the demolition of the storefront and altering it in the way that you're proposing. So we're going to probably want to work with you to try and find a satisfactory solution there. The photos doesn't give me enough information to see exactly how that door is set, but it looks like there's very little clearances, but I don't know. Is it a 36-inch wide door currently or wider?
It's 36 inches.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. By saying the storefront would stay, how do you handle energy efficiency with a single pane window?
You could do something on the interior if you wish to do some type of energy panel for a second pane, is how that's handled. Or, a lot of those storefronts, I forget this one, if there's often there was like a secondary glass wall behind it that the casework on either side was a separate space. So yeah, when you get into these situations in the historic district, we look for some type of interior solution if you want to put a second pane, like what they call an energy panel.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily that we want to, we're gonna be required to from the city to meet energy code.
The guidelines speak to that. So if you look in the guidelines, you can see that alternative means of giving you that energy compliance. And you're not, if you don't have to change the storefront, and we won't support that. And the district guidelines don't support that. And there are plenty of others that modified their spaces up and down the district over the decades. We have not had to rip out historic storefronts to make them energy code compliant. But we could work through that with you if you want to bring this into the LRC. We could explain, the history and what's been going on in the district and find you solutions if indeed you want to make them energy efficient.
Okay.
Hi, Bob. This is Matt Brungo speaking. I
Yeah,
just
Matt.
have one quick comment, and it's on the paint. Well, I don't try to make a value judgment as to coloring. You paint what you want to paint. We do have a provision in the zoning code that prohibits using corporate color schemes on the exterior of facades, and I think that's clearly an application of a corporate color scheme. I think as much was said in this presentation. And to the extent we don't want that same yellow and red with golden arches on a McDonald's, I don't think we want the yellow and red of the halal guys to be a supported color scheme. Just in terms of corporate coloring, it hasn't been supported other places, and it's in violation of the zoning code.
Gotcha. Good point. And I was going to mention that too. I think we could accept something on the signboard, use a color scheme up there on the signboard. It's not unusual to allow the signboard to be different, but yes, kind of the storefront and the brackets and other features, a more historic kind of approach to painting the building. And that goes for the upper windows as well. And again, we could give you some ideas of how historic buildings were painted back in the day, and usually a multicolor scheme, but not necessary. The guidelines still give strict accordance, but I appreciate you making that point on the zoning code. And I was going to make that point. It does seem overblown and overdone with the corporate color scheme.
As I guess I'm curious what's happening behind. Is it just a to-go place? Is it indoor? Is there seating? Is there going?
It's seating. It's a fast casual franchise. About 80% of what they do is takeout. So it's like a Subway. You're walking through a line and you're saying, you want this, you want that type of thing, and you pay at the end of the line, and then you make a decision whether you're taking your food out or eating in. I can't remember. I think there's like 25 seats maybe at max in this space.
Yeah, we have others like that. Jimmy John's, the same sort of thing, right?
Same type
Yeah.
deal, yeah.
Okay. No liquor license though. No booze.
No.
Absolutely not.
Right. Okay. And hours, just to clarify, since we're sort of getting to wrap our arms around this thing a little.
I think it's 11 to 11 type situation on Fridays and Saturdays, and Sunday through Thursday, it'll probably be 11 to 10 at the most.
Okay. Thank you.
So in terms of your scheme here in this illustration, how are you handling the transition from the sidewalk up to the first floor and eliminating the step?
Just what you suggested, by taking out the current sidewalk and repouring it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
That's the only possibility we have.
Yeah,
And also, we've got to replace that basement access. So we've got to take that out anyway. And that sidewalk in that area is really in really bad shape.
yeah. Yeah, frankly, I don't know how it's done. I don't know if Matt or Mike or anybody else knows how various businesses in the district have been allowed to keep the step and overcome that with a temporary ramp or some other provision.
You're allowed to hold a temporary ramp inside the store in
Yeah.
case it needs it, you bring it out.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen the best example I know is next to Tie Me Up with the Panda, the Happy Panda. They have an aluminum ramp there that they bring out and put down.
Yeah.
I've seen it along Carson and other places too. So, but the better solution is what you're proposing, and you see that often down the district where they kind of hump the sidewalk as you get up to that the threshold. And
Mike McKay has a question or comment.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the renderings are just not as much detail as, I guess, reality, but the gingerbread above the sign that hangs out onto the sidewalk there, just above that, to the left and right of the, I don't know what you call the big sign, the Hell L Guy sign. There's existing, you know, like real fancy woodwork and everything there. And I'm just thinking that you guys kind of just rough that in to show the color scheme. You're not planning on taking any of that down. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct, yeah.
We're gonna leave that all there and what we've got to do to repair it. And
Okay.
put sanding, painting, that, you know, all those things. We're not
Okay.
planning on taking any of that sign band down. Or the
Okay, fine,
top.
thanks.
So I guess I would offer or extend an offer. The LRC Local Review Committee meets on Tuesday nights. I think we could do one next Tuesday night if you wanted to come in to us and work with us to kind of talk in more detail about the guidelines and specifics of this rather than tie everyone's time up tonight, to see if we can get this into place where it would be approvable by the HRC. I think if you went downtown with this, you wouldn't get an approval. So our goal is to try and get you in better compliance with the guidelines to go down once and get your approval. I know we sound adversarial, where that's not my intent, or our intent of our group is to try and just understand the guidelines, come with an application that can meet those guidelines, and have our experience over the years of being in this committee in the neighborhood avoid problems with you when you go down there that, you know, we know the HRC's position in most cases and things they've approved or disapproved in the past. And I think at the moment, if you went downtown with this, you would not be approved. So we would like to work with you to try and get you to that place. And we can explain in more detail the history and various other examples in the district where your type of storefront has been refurbished and business have been able to thrive in there. So, you know, it's doable.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, we're definitely, I mean, obviously, our goal is to get to the city and get a permit, but, you know, we understand the process and, you know, we wanted to start it tonight. We understand, you know, the comments and what have you, and, you know, we're more than happy to sit down and talk with everybody and try to come up with a solution that makes sense for everybody involved.
okay. I don't want to rush anything, but I want to keep moving tonight because we have a long night. So if you want to reach out and set up a meeting with the LRC.
Sure. Yeah, we'll contact you guys tomorrow or whomever tomorrow. And we'll set it up.
Yeah, I'll connect Ashley with Bob so that you can schedule time together.
That's
Because
perfect.
there also is a 30-day comment period. So the work that you're doing with the LRC falls in line with that additional time between the dam and the when you can go to the HRC. And that 30-day comment period ends February 19th. So hopefully you would be in place for, you know, like the March HRC meeting. But they, as Bob said, they can be very helpful in getting you to the approval status.
Sure.
And-
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate everybody's time and we understand you got a long night ahead of you and we appreciate you letting us go first.
Lucky you. Thank you again.
Okay.
We We do have a hand raised from Mike.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think that was the last
Yeah,
comment.
yeah, you know what, just real quick, I'm not knowing the, obviously the laws and all, but when you talked earlier about the color schemes, is there, for the historic district, just certain colors that are permitted? And if these guys hadn't said that this was our corporate colors, would they have been okay just to go with red and yellow, or are there actual colors to choose from?
Mike, I think we can follow up with this, like internally. We got a lot of things going on. We have had
Okay.
issues in the past 2 years where people have used very loud color schemes that weren't, they were, I guess, shocking, or people took a second guess at. And we looked internally, and we don't have a lot of power to pick colors, but there is a specific provision in the zoning code that prohibits corporate coloring, which we have seen in a number of places in the district. So there isn't a specific palette that they're limited to. But beyond that, there is, there's not a real mechanical bright line. So we can certainly discuss it more and like follow up after the fact, but that's, I think, the overview.
Okay, thanks.
So again, there is a 30-day comment period where anyone else in the community can share comments or ask questions. And so, as I mentioned before, this project will be presented to the Historic Review Commission for approval. And, if you want to provide public comment at the Historic Review Commission meeting, there are several ways to do it, and they're listed on the slide. And also, just to mention, and I won't mention it again, someone from the local review committee, in addition to submitting a document to HRC, it's usually Bob Russ attending and providing information and being available to answer questions that the commissioners may have.
Thanks, Barb.
All right, so we're on to project 2. And that's Jordan Rooney, 2204 East Carson Street. Jordan, do you have your presentation? You have your photos?
Yeah, I have everything ready. I can share.
All right.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, nice to meet everyone. Let me start off by saying that, for this is, wanted to introduce ourselves, but also just give background on who we are. I'm not in city planning or architecture or anything else like that. So I've tried to rely on as many different resources up to this point to get us here. I've never renovated anything before, especially a storefront. So I kind of first just want to talk about some of the things that we have going on, just to introduce ourselves to the community. I know, Barbara, I won't spend too much time specifically on that. But the name of our space is Nudge. The idea behind it is we have 2 different marketing agencies of ours inside. And our goal is to give people the nudge to build a brand, start a business, give them the resources to basically transition whatever they're doing into the digital age. Here's our previous facade. I honestly was looking for an office space during COVID and walked past, saw it, thought it was a great location. It was a dream for me to be able to have a storefront on East Carson Street. I've lived on the slopes. I live in Station Square now, and then obviously I've been to the East Carson Street a lot. Quick understanding of our brand. So we have 2 agencies with the same people, built different. We work with companies within the region. So one of our big clients is the Pittsburgh region, helping to market Pittsburgh. We work with some other companies as well, just helping to transition them into the digital age. And then we have Jaster, which is we work with professional athletes, creating content for them. Just so you get to see our people. And then we also have Vlog U, which is a nonprofit of ours that we're super proud of, where Pittsburgh Public School high school students work for us, running social media campaigns. So we're very big on workforce development, helping youth. One of their big campaigns right now is they're working on the Andy Warhol Museum's TikTok account. So we work with the Warhol, are very ingrained with the Warhol's culture and helping to restructure that in our workforce development program. is a part of that. So I'm not sure here who has TikTok, but if you do, check it out. And then also, a big reason for us building this out was we felt that resources within the creative fields were inaccessible. There was a high barrier to entry. When I was first starting building my career, trying to create videos or create content, it was so expensive to use equipment or use studio space. So for us, being able to engage creatives, artistic people, we wanted to develop something that would provide access for them for free. So we have a creator program, creator incubator. The idea is those who are talented and lack resources, we are able to provide the resources for them. So all of this is, me just stressing the fact that art is important to us, creativity is important to us. But with that being said, going throughout this process, we've wanted to do things the right way. This is my first time doing this. And so, even our facade, our sign company, the sign company we've worked with, I've always wanted to follow the rules. We thought we were following the rules. So I just kind of want to, showcase that just as evidence here, because, I've received emails that was just felt like, like I knew I was doing something wrong by us having a colorful or a loud facade, as mentioned earlier. But we had always felt like we were following the rules. We were told from the very beginning from our landlords and from our sign company, as long as it was hand painted, that we were perfectly fine. And so our plan for months was how we were going to hand paint our facade. We've since learned that that is not under code, and we were breaking the rules, but we didn't know we were breaking the rules. And that's the most important thing that I've wanted to stress. We want to learn, we want to do the right thing, we want to be involved with the community, but I just wanted to better understand the subjectivity that goes into deciding a colorful scheme. So this is our current facade, which would be considered loud. But for us, and I've mentioned multiple times, it's something that we are proud of. It's something that people walk past and they take pictures of, or it's something that creative people, they like being a part of. For us, we view art as a representation, as it's freedom of expression. But we also didn't want to do something that was sloppy, or, everything is, the lines are concise. We have a very strict design of how we've done it. So, what would love to learn is, what is the version that, and we understand we have to scale it back, but what can we do? Is there any expression that is allowed within us with utilizing our facade, utilizing colors? And that's mainly, what I would love to understand. Inside, we have a creative space. So we have 15 people in and out here. So more of an open workspace type of environment. And so put together just some potential scaled back versions. But like I said, this is me just wanting to learn. So taking off of, the designs. Yeah, I mean, and it could just be straight up colors. Our sign is up currently. But yeah, so I would just kind of love to best understand the subjectivity behind what could get approved in terms of an artistic design on a facade versus what wouldn't get approved.
Great questions. Jordan, I appreciate the overview and what you're doing with the business. And so, welcome to Carson Street. I'm sympathetic in the sense that if you were outside the district, it'd be a different story. You could do whatever you want. You could do this. And it is, I think, creative, loud for sure. And every business in the district would like to make this kind of noise visually, and have in the past on different occasions. But the guidelines try to go for, and specifically the historic district guidelines say, the use of original color schemes in the painting of wood and metal elements will not, is encouraged, but ordinarily the HRC does not prescribe color. So to the question is there an approved palette? The answer is no, but they do look for historic colors. And there are paint producers out there that have historic color lines, and or to kind of determine what maybe the historic colors, the original colors on the building were, and try to work with that. So they tend to be, more muted colors generally. And that's a big kind of generalization. The masonry on this building had already been painted, had been painted many years ago. I'm trying to think back to the Lava Lounge days. I don't recall them ever coming to HRC to get permission to paint their paint colors. So I don't know what the status was of the scheme that you had there before you came in to the building. And that would be up for debate. What could stay perhaps, and I'm just offering things, this is a discussion, not necessarily a decision. We're not decision makers, we're advisors to you and others on what you might be able to get approved. Because the thing you did is you painted it without a permit and a certificate of appropriateness. So the people that were giving you advice were not aware of that, or just gave you bad advice in that sense. Any exterior change to the facade or the exterior of a building in the district needs a review, unless you were just simply repainting the colors that were there or fixing things in kind. Some of that can be done what they call over the counter, and you wouldn't have to go through a neighborhood process. But for something as dramatic as this, you would have had to go through the process. So that's what brings you here is, I guess, someone filed a 311 complaint against the facade. And we've had these over the years in various businesses, kind of treating their facade like a art canvas and doing, I think, with the best of intentions mostly, doing something dramatic that calls out their business as something very unique and different and stand out in the district. And we've had to go down to the HRC and basically get them overturned and have them brought back into a more historic nature, something a bit more in keeping with the district, unfortunately. And most of those have been done on a Sunday or overnight or sometime without permits. And that's the biggest hiccup sometimes, is you kind of, without a review, do something and then you kind of get dragged down into the process. So that's where you are right now. I guess I would say, there are others in my local review committee, and they can start. Jody's here, John's here, they could pipe in. I would say the signboard above your doorway with nudge could probably stay, but other parts of your storefront and the brickwork and that would likely have to change. I think we could debate whether the tile overhanging cornice and that could stay or not, but even black in this district comes across as very heavy and not particularly historic, but all that's up for debate. And even the HRC, I guess, on any given Wednesday would debate that themselves. So it's difficult to prescribe exactly what you need to do. But the fact that you have loud colors all over the facade and it's sort of one big canvas is the problem from the get-go.
One maybe important piece of content that could help our landlords. They're supposed to be turning this into all windows. So like, and I'm not sure what the process is like that, but it was part of our lease agreement that they were going to rebuild the facade. That this was going, basically there's just gonna be all windows here. So what will be left is the sides and behind the signboard.
So they would have to make an application to the HRC in the process, come through a DAM meeting like this, come with a design, what they're proposing, read the guidelines, and try to understand. I don't know if John or Jody know, I don't think this facade or this storefront's original. I'd have to go back and see your original. Show me the, if you can, the existing conditions before you came into the space when it was Lava Lounge. Yeah, my guess is that's not original. I don't know what John or Jody think.
I was involved with this project many years ago, before Lava Lounge, and basically the brick, the left and right of the double doors, all that was there. The only thing I did was I'm trying to remember because it was probably 40 years ago or something.
Before the district.
Yeah, and I added the double doors because there was a very god-awful door there. And I think just cleaned up the windows. But other than that, left everything else alone. One thing for Jordan maybe to consider is if in fact the storefront is open and more glass, that would be great. And one of the things that the district does not have control over is what happens behind that glass. So you could repeat, the very decorative graphic design that you have on the front. You could have it right behind that glass and there would be no control from us or the city as to what goes on behind there. So I noticed with your interior shots, in contrast to your facade and your very strong graphics, the entire interior was white, which may be necessary for, filming, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, but close to the storefront, as part of your sort of entrance lobby or whatever, you could repeat some of those strong graphics inside the space.
Got it. One question I had is like La Bodega. Are you familiar with La Bodega's painting where, it's white and then they have blue halfway up? I mean, is there any version of that to where, you could have varying color schemes that it doesn't just need to be like a flat color throughout?
So I would say yes, a certain kind of multicolor scheme is possible. It's not unusual to have 2 or 3 colors in historic buildings in their storefronts. There's a particular methodology that is a more historic way to approach that. And we could talk about that outside this committee in more detail and show you that option. Yeah, La Bodega. No one's filed a 311 as far as I know yet. But that wasn't reviewed or approved as far as I know. At least I don't recall seeing it come through. Damn. So there are bad examples. There are several other businesses in the district that do these types of paint schemes, again, without permits or without review, that we can't necessarily endorse. But I guess to your point, it's a little bit of a fine line and a bit of a discussion, I guess, back and forth, and then ultimately whatever the HRC, how far they think they want to go, and or how loud or not the community wants to voice their opinion about things like this. So all I can say is in the past 2 years, there's probably been 2 or 3 storefronts with very similar color schemes, very dynamic graphic presentation of the business, that have been asked to strip and repaint and remove that type of artwork. The problem is when one business does it, every business or many businesses in the district want to do it. And it just changes the whole nature of the district. And that's sort of what the district guidelines are trying to do, is to try and maintain the historic sort of integrity and feeling of the district. So,
Bob, just a side note.
yeah.
La Bodega was Lesvos prior to changing hands. And I don't know how much that color scheme changed. It was repainted, but I don't think the color scheme actually changed from the conditions as Lesvos. And I don't know how long Lesvos was there, but I do think that the problem at that particular location predates the current tenant.
But when the owner did go to the HRC for approval, they did that with it was packaged with the other place that Bedford Square and East Carson across from 1210. And I believe that that was approved, but I'm not sure what was done was what would have been approved, because that was to come to us and then it did not need to come to us. So because I think there was just some painting, but whether or not the kind of painting that occurred would have been approved, I'm not sure about that.
But
Yeah.
regardless, let's
Focus here, yeah.
let's focus. Sorry. Again, if there wasn't 5, I'd let you dwell, but let's keep
Well,
moving.
I think it's, I think that was a bit important because, you don't want to take that as a model of something that you can do if that wasn't necessarily, that would not have been approved by HRC had it gone to them. So, we have, I think, other examples that, we would say are good models, for Jordan to look at.
And glad you mentioned that, Barbara. We were actually chatting about this at the office earlier today. My partner, who's left for the day, is on the Historic Review Commission, so she's not speaking for the commission, but just some observations about what's a good precedent, because obviously you're trying to convey energy and splash, and that's great. And how does that coexist with historic guidelines? And I think a successful example of that is one that's no longer with us is Beehive, where they had, a very sort of tuxedo exterior and a very mannered frieze with their signage there. So that was kind of the outside signal. And then all the glass and the way that they configured the interior was the inside signal. So those two kind of worked together and conveyed that energy. And that might be something to look at in this case, to get a, I don't know, more historic version exterior. And like John Martin mentioned earlier, if you can take some of that energetic graphics, put it inside, and you still get it, you see it through the windows. Especially if you may be getting larger windows. So that's all I wanted to add.
Thank you, Peter.
Makes sense. Yeah, and just purely like I'm just looking to learn. So like historical in nature. I understand preserving this as a historical society. I guess what I'm trying to best understand to bridge this to get ultimately a version that we would be proud of, that would be something you would also approve, is it's so arbitrary to me. So that's what I'm just trying to understand. I get it, historical in nature, things alter, things change. So is there a version that we can develop that is still meeting the guidelines that you're saying, but still much represent something that, you can be proud of, that's on the street? Because we believe it's something that there is energy to it. There is people who are coming back and, they're coming by and they're loving to see it. So I guess I'm just trying to best understand, because when you say historical, I get I'm just not sure where that starts and where's that finishes. And I guess to all of you, could it not be something that we're saying okay, well, this can be historical, but it doesn't need to be like everything else. It could still have a feeling to it that conveys some positivity, some energy that people like to walk past, they like to drive past.
Yeah, and I think tonight's not the night to arbitrate that, because we go round and round. So it's a back and forth, and we can go into more detail. If you can come to Tuesday night with the LRC, we could explain all that and point you in a direction that perhaps we could work out together in more detail.
But Jordan, to save you some energy and time, I think, and we're not dictating this, but I think the suggestion that I had and Peter had would be, once you get your all glass facade there, you could very easily have a show-stopping, picture-taking, selfie experience with those strong graphics inside the space, immediately inside the space. You're not going to take away from that. But the facade is the facade. And our concern over the years, I've been involved in here since 1974, probably well before your time on this earth. And,
Yes.
Once we start these things, we have precedents. We had a recent, and I don't want to extend this, but Rite Aid decided overnight to paint their brick facade gray to match their corporate color scheme. Well, we had to have them remove all that gray paint. Gray was certainly not garish or traffic stopping, but it was against the guidelines. So
because it was corporate in nature, is that?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that you could do here.
That was the other thing.
Come and talk with us. We'll help guide you through this.
Cool, because I would love to, find a way to still be inspired and proud of our facade in general, and make you all proud when you're walking past it too, and not mad at me because it's there right now. So yeah, that sounds good.
We welcome, young energy, and communities need all of that. We were all there at one time. So,
Hey, some of us still are, John.
well, yeah, I had a storefront when I first came here also on Carson Street. So I know the experience.
Okay, thank you.
So are there any more questions or comments? So I think we're leaving this up to the your meeting with the local review committee, and you're in good hands, Jordan.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
So the same as with 2210, additional comments can be made to us at the Southside Community Council. If there's a need to, this will be presented to the Historic Review Commission, and you can always make public comment. And I think it may be of interest to people, once the LRC does meet, with Jordan, that we do a little bit of follow-up, just, maybe via email or so that the community is aware of what is going to be shared with the Historic Review Commission on this, and even, 1210, to, in case anybody else would like to make a public comment to the HRC. So
Sure.
thank you again.
Yeah, I could add, obviously HRC posts the applications coming into each hearing, usually about 10 days before the hearing. So that's the place where the public can go download the applications coming in, would be able to see this information. Now, this would be, like you said, probably for the March hearing, first Wednesday in March.
Because what what the presentation is what you guys will have worked on, so that the HRC would approve it. So that's a good point. Okay. We're ready for 1931 East Carson Street. And I believe that's John.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
How is everybody tonight?
Okay.
We're good.
We're on
Keeping warm.
we're on our third presentation, so we're good.
We're
Good.
good.
I don't know if my contractor's here or not. Lou, are you there?
I don't see him.
Is it Lou Holzer?
Yeah,
Let me promote him to a panelist.
Yeah, I see him on the list of participants, so.
It looks like he may have joined. Let's see here.
He said it was.
yeah, he just,
There was two on there.
Yeah, one of them disappeared.
oh, there he is.
There's Lou.
I see his name now. He told me he really wanted to be a part of this because he's stuck in the 1980s. And and I said, same with me.
There's Lou.
If it wasn't for,
Lou.
oh yeah, hi Lou. Can you hear us?
Oh, it's looks like your mic is off.
Oh, his mic, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Lou.
Yeah, we all feel that way when we're trying to talk and nobody hears us.
Yeah,
Not-
it's
I was going to say there are worse decades.
connecting
be
to
stuck in.
audio. All right. How you doing now, Lou?
Can you hear me now?
All right.
Dan,
Okay.
okay, do you guys have your presentation?
Yeah, I'll start and then I'm going to hand it over to Lou. My name is John Despinis. I am the property owner, 1931 East Carson Street. And I met Lou about a year ago in regards to re-shingling the dormers because the shingles are in really bad shape. And it didn't take us both long to realize that the whole upper facade needs to be replaced. So that's where we're at today. We would like to replace everything, change nothing, and just bring it back all new. That way there's no leaks, there's no wood falling down on the people. And that's pretty much it on my end.
So Lou, do you have the diagram?
Or photos.
If he has trouble, my wife can bring everything up. It's up to you, Lou.
I do also have them on hand here, if that would be easier.
Sure, go
Yeah,
ahead.
if you have that packet, that would be good.
Okay.
Or I can do it, whatever's easier. I can do it. So you can scroll.
Philip's gonna get it.
All our work is from the brick up.
All right.
Rebuilding that overhang, relining the gutter with copper, taking the aluminum siding off the mansard, and installing a slate-like shingle, asphalt shingle.
Lou, if I could correct you, that horizontal siding is vinyl.
Oh, okay.
Just
I
so
thought it was
the panel knows.
Can everyone see this?
Yep. We have a map up.
Okay. Oh, the map, hold on a second. Share this other. All right, can you see the drawings?
Yeah. If you scroll down, see the mansard with the siding from the box gutter up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the work area that we're going to be doing with that overhang. And I have a sample of the shingle that we're gonna install.
So just to be clear, it sounds like you're proposing from the box gutter up the peak of the roof on the front, we'll be replacing and renewing, basically, correct?
That's correct.
So we'll
Go to the fourth slide. Oh, no, there was maybe it's the second slide, because there was but there was a better diagram of what you were doing, I thought. What about page 1?
Go up one.
No.
No, that's just the.
So I guess from my experience, Lou, of doing this exact work on my own properties, there's a lot of ways you can do that up there, and some turn out really beautifully and others turn out really poorly, such as the case that we're looking at, the horizontal vinyl siding. So I'm curious to know what level of work you're going to do around, like, the windows up there, the dormers, the woodwork that's up there, the box gutter. Are we putting downspouts coming down the front? How's the cornice going to be?
The downspout goes down the left side.
Okay.
Of the building.
Doesn't seem to be there in the photo, though.
The box gutter wraps around the left side just a touch, and out of that little bit of a box gutter is a vertical aluminum downspout that goes onto our neighbor's roof. So that will, the box gutter is getting totally taken down and replaced with all.
It's going to be rebuilt.
Yeah. And then
relined with copper.
Put a beautiful copper liner. Yeah.
All the trim around the dormers is going to be replaced as needed. All that's gonna be painted. And then this is the shingle.
Do you want me to bring up the
going
picture
to
of that? I have a
install
picture.
on the mansard.
Yeah, it's like a slate looking asphalt shingle.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah, I'm actually less worried about the shingle type. And that looks good. I'm glad you're going with something like that. I'm more concerned about how it's going to be trimmed out and bring us back to a better shape than it's in now, I guess, and more in line. Bob, do you want to talk about what is there another precedent of what they should be aiming for, or how do we direct them in this instance?
Well, for the woodwork, and John can certainly help here, or Jody, anything, you can replace any, what seems to be original woodwork in kind. So that's not particularly controversial at all. That sometimes is even approved over the counter. So, but glad to hear at least taking that siding off the mansard roof and replacing it with something. If we had any kind of historic photo, but I think it's safe to say that was never siding. It was always some type of probably a slate shingle or similar back when the building was built.
Yes.
Right. So to emulate that with an asphalt shingle of the type you're saying is probably okay. There's no guideline that says you'd have to replace it in slate that I'm aware of. So this is a good direction. And I guess it would just be a matter of, for maybe HRC's comfort, if there were some diagrams or details of the wood profiles and or better pictures, obviously, of the dormers and the box gutter, so we could see what the profiles were and kind of see the character of all that. That when you do change it out, you are matching. You're not taking away original historic fabric, although HRC may take a position of a little bit more preservation or restoration approach, where if it's not too bad, keep the original and replace only that's truly deteriorated, because the guidelines try to save actual historic fabric, not necessarily replace everything. So it's just a matter of kind of showing them the extent of the deterioration and to what point you could salvage or save parts that aren't quite gone yet, and patch in with new wood matching the exact same profiles of all those wood trims and such. And then they would debate the shingles with you. But there again, we could see a sample in person or on, in better view at some point. HRC would love you to come down. Back when everyone was meeting live, you would have brought those samples to the actual hearing. On Zoom, you'll probably have to put up some type of product literature or something that shows them what you're proposing.
We have a photo. You want to bring it up, Janine?
I can if
How
have
long
to
will it
share.
take?
Yeah, it looked okay to us.
We have a photo of the shingle. What Lou was, yeah, there it is.
Can you all see that though?
No. Did you click the share screen button? It's
I
the green
did.
button at the bottom. Okay.
I did. So
We don't see anything.
Okay, 1 second. It's,
all right, well, maybe it's not going to work.
Once you hit share, you have to choose the screen you're sharing, right?
I chose desktop.
No,
Right,
if you
there it
can-
is.
Oh, here it comes.
Yeah, we see a desktop now.
Okay. Not what should we want you to see. There you go. All right.
I'm
is
going
that,
to hold.
All right. So here's the picture. Is it, Lou, is this what you were holding up?
Yes.
Okay.
oh, so it did work.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because it also has the brand name, et cetera. So I think that would be important to submit to the city.
Yeah.
The overhang is in rough shape. And matching moldings, those old moldings, isn't possible. So they would be replaced 100% with something close that matches but new.
Well, let me tell you, having just done the facade of my own house a couple of years ago, when I had to replace the moldings, I had to have Allegheny millwork cut specific new moldings to match. Unfortunately, it's not a inexpensive route, but
No, that's expensive.
yeah. Well, the problem is, as Bob pointed out, we don't want to have you replace, historic pieces with something that is not matching. So that's the dilemma. The other concern I have is what happens on the side where there's siding on the right-hand side there. What happens there? I might have missed that in your.
Nothing. We're not touching the sides.
Yeah, so what will be important is, as I think it was Mike that pointed out, what is the interface between the mansard? How do the shingles, how is that corner treated? That'll be very.
I was going to use a piece of trim going down the siding and extend the shingles out past that. So it would be a wood trim coming down on the siding.
Well, currently there's 2 vertical pieces of aluminum.
Outside corners.
Yeah, it's outside corner. And one side, the aluminum's coming into it. And then the front, the vinyl siding's coming into it. So it's terminated with a outside corner aluminum.
Son,
What's that?
I thought I had a photo with the wire wraps not on it. Sorry.
So Lou's proposing taking that outside corner down and replacing it with wood, correct?
Correct.
The box cutter has a current piece of molding, about half of it, and the other half I have in my basement. It fell down, so that we can match as best we can. And then around the windows, we just need some advice and some guidance, and we'll put up whatever molding the Historical Society wants. But as you see now, it's in really bad shape, and the dormers are going to need some love and attention, and then we'll trim them out. However, whatever molding they want us to put up, we'll put up.
So again, I think would be helpful when you do go to HRC to have more photographs, better quality photographs, and details, more close-ups of particular pieces of the box gutter and around the dormers, and even that top part up at the top of the roof.
I wonder if you guys can see
The
this.
2 sides.
It's not going to help.
Yeah,
them.
that's not going to work for us. But tonight's not the night. Again, if we can invite you over to the LRC Tuesday night, we could spend some time with you to look through what you've got there and maybe try to help you finesse those details. To John's point, I know I've had custom woodwork done in my house. Allegheny millwork is expensive. There's a place in Spring Garden Avenue called Art Craft Wood Products. They're pretty competitive. They cut.
Yeah, I know. I'm familiar with them.
Yeah.
Are you saying that we need to match the molding exactly, or try our best to find that cut?
I think the HRC would be against you taking all the original moldings off the building and putting in stock Home Depot or whatever. It's kind of stock out of the catalog. Some of that can be very close, and some of those profiles persist. So if it is stock and it does match very closely, I think that would be fine. But we don't know because we just don't have the evidence here tonight in photographs as to how far you are from anything that's sort of off the shelf today. And yes, they would probably want you to match. And again, I think we'll see. we'll try and fashion this for you to go in and be approvable, but the guidelines want to try and preserve fabric that is intact, and it states that very emphatically, and replace only that's deteriorated. So they won't want a wholesale kind of removal unless it is truly all falling off the building and totally rotted out. And you'll have to make that case with some evidence.
Thanks for putting that up. So I just dropped that into the chat. That's what I just had done 2 years ago to my house. And I can tell you it was painstaking and there's a lot of nuance to it. But as you can see, what I was asking about is, how are you going to terminate on the right side when the shingles come to the edge?
Right.
Up the cornice, that's like a 6-piece trim up there at the top, but it was all remade to match the original. And yeah, it was painstaking. Stainless steel box gutters, and it actually has the same shingle. Actually, the exact same one that you held up there is the one that's on that roof. So, again, I couldn't afford the slate that I'd like, but the shingles are fine on mansards. They'll last 60 years, being on a 12 pitch roof, So that's what I was looking for. I think if you guys came with some more details to talk with Bob and the group, that's, not to this level of detail, but if you had some details to give an inkling of which way you're going with it and that it was falling in the nature of the original building or of that architectural period, I think that would be best.
Yeah, the current box gutter's really bad shape. The underneath actually has big holes in it.
Yeah, this all had to be sistered up, brought out, all reformed. There's all new framing behind all of this. So
yeah, I'm just talking about our box gutter.
Oh, I know.
With photographs, with better photographs, you'll be able to see that it's not salvageable. So we'll take your advice and get a lot better photographs. And
does the HRC approve Baral trim? It's not wood, but it looks like wood, and it's not PVC.
Lou, this is actually all Borel. You know that product? Are you familiar with it?
Yes.
That's what he just said. That's what he's asking you.
Well, yeah, there's a difference. So there's vinyl, and then there's Borel, which is, I think, more of a woodworker's material and not just.
Yes.
You have to buy stock materials. Borel is like wood. You can actually form it and shape it to match existing profiles, right? That's the difference. And it'll last for a very long time. So, but do we want to see it? I think we just are happy with a drawing of it, but I leave that up to Bob and the LRC.
Well, it would be just used in place of 1x-dimensional lumber. The Baral.
Yeah, I don't know the quick answer because I don't think anyone's brought that to us, but maybe John remembers an application. Yeah, we'd have to look at it.
And Bob, is there an expectation that when you go to the when you present to the HRC, that you are sharing with them specifics as to, what you're going to be using if you need to replace something, and giving a lot of detail as to what it is that you're changing, why you're changing it, and what you're changing it to?
Well, yeah, they'll like some type of diagram, either photographs marked up or in best case scenario, sort of drawings. So if you have to replace the box gutter, go up there and measure it and draw the profiles and give them a drawing that says, here's the dimensions, here are what the shapes look like in a fairly larger scale. So they understand the parts and pieces of it. And if it's kind of a facade drawing, not unlike what you did in a little cleaner copy with more notes that say, this entire box gutter, we're going to replace in kind, and here's what it looks like now. And those are the parts and pieces that we're going to replace exactly. And we're going to use this type of shingle on this area. And up around the dormers, there's a picture of the dormer as it is in its current condition, and one that's sort of where you're going to go restoring it. Yeah, as much detail like that in the form of drawings or photographs that explain to them, because what they're going to approve is basically the material you present, not necessarily your words and sort of discussion. You need some evidence, you need a picture or some diagrams of what you're intending to do, and that's what they'll approve. And that's what everyone will kind of keep an eye on to make sure is kind of fabricated in the field and executed.
Okay.
So
I'll jump in. Hey, real quick, sorry to jump in. This is unrelated to what has been said, just a heads up. Is Zed still in this building?
Yes, Zed is my tenant, and he is currently still the tenant of the first floor, and he rents the second floor. Yes, and I have a my nephew is renting the third floor, and that's the work that's in question, where my nephew is living.
The only thing I'd say is the Zed sign is a temporary sign. You get like 9 months on a temporary sign. Zed may consider for his storefront, looking at the historic district guidelines and for signage, because eventually you're going to end up with a 311 for a temporary sign in a permanent setting.
Yeah, it was about a year ago, he was looking into a sign, and I think he hired somebody, but I haven't talked to him about that. So I don't know. I got to ask him what's going on with the sign, but I don't know if I told him to wait till we finish the above or not, but I think he was going to go ahead with it. I need to ask him what's going on with that. Yeah, he wants to get a permanent sign there.
Cool. All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
tell them to work through the HRC and not do anything without guidance.
Yeah, I think he was following all the rules there.
Mhm. So again, with, I don't want to repeat myself since we have, 2 other presentations, but again, prior to this going to the Historic Review Commission, there can be additional comments and, we will keep you informed as to what will go before the commission so that you can attend the HRC meeting and provide comment if necessary, if you're interested. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Lou.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Bye.
So our next project is 2655 East Carson Street. And this is, we spoke about, we reviewed this project, and I'm not sure how it's different from what we had reviewed, but I think that was the storefront. This I believe is the sign.
Right.
And David, I want to thank you. We're all, as we saw the white coming off of Rite Aid, there was a buzz among many of us on Southside. So thank you for taking care of that.
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to point that out. I think it was John, you brought it up before, or somebody brought it up earlier.
John.
I just want to make sure I was the guy that got it removed right away. I went and checked, I'm like, who goofed this? So I apologize for that, but we got it fixed right away. Yeah.
We actually replaced the sign yesterday that they put the chemical on and destroyed it too. So.
Oh, wow.
Sorry about that.
But thank you, guys.
Yeah, brownie points.
Yes.
It's good to start a meeting with a brownie point. I think Billy, you're going to start off with the presentation, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to need help loading the package up though. I wasn't prepared to load the package. If Philip, you could please help us with that.
Yeah, 1 second here.
While Philip's loading that, I need to get my head wrapped around. I guess DAM is a new committee of the city of Pittsburgh.
Yes, we We became a registered community organization in January of 2020, and others can jump in here, but city planning and the previous mayor wanted a structured community process where projects that came into the community would be discussed at the community level prior to them going to either the HRC, the Planning Commission, the Art Commission, the Zoning Board, and I'm not sure if I'm leaving any Planning Commission. And so I think it makes for a better process when you're at the city level. You're at one of these commissions because you're not blindsided by somebody coming in
Right.
saying, we're a neighbor next door and we knew nothing about this, even though there might be an orange placard up or there may be information shared that something is occurring.
Right.
And I think I can speak for the historic district guidelines. They've been in existence for a long period of time, but many of the residents and others in the community didn't know a lot about them, nor did the property owners and the business owners. So
Right.
there was a lot of after the fact, going to the Historic Review Commission or, going through the LRC. So the
Right.
process for us has been, I think, extremely enlightening, and I think it's been helpful to the developers who go to the city, and I think for the city to actually see the process, see what you're planning to do, and be able to support it.
No, I think it's great. I just want to get, because I agree with you. I've been blindsided before, like especially with zoning hearing boards.
Yeah.
The Bloomfield Civic Organization comes in at the last moment and says, "What are you doing?"
Mhm.
Nobody ever notified us as to who we needed to present this to
Mhm.
until the hearing date, and then all of a sudden you got a room full of angry people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why didn't you let us know that? Well, we didn't know. We put our placards up. We did everything according to code, law, everything like that, and all of a sudden, it just doesn't go. It doesn't go as planned. So I just wanted to get my head wrapped around like your committee first, then the historic review, and then more than likely the zoning hearing board.
Yeah, I think what you're presenting today, in addition to HRC, it will need to go to the zoning board.
Correct. And David, I wanted to let you know too that if DAM approves it and HRC approves it, I think there's certain aspects of the signage that's going to get shut down with the zoning hearing board. Alice and her crew are just going to pick it apart.
This is the signage R4 and R5 that are sitting on basically 27th Street, correct?
Correct. They're off
Yeah,
premise.
we discussed this yesterday, actually, when we saw the package, because it just came through. And so we came up with alternatives, ideas for signage to, to help address that concern. So I think maybe we would want to pull those up.
Yeah. Philip, are you
Philip,
able
could you were you able to pull those two up that we sent over earlier today?
There's
And the
a-
idea behind these, see, when this project first started, this project for me has been a 6-year project.
Hey,
to
David,
get this.
not to interrupt, the two documents you guys sent over late this afternoon, they weren't able to make it to the committee tonight.
Oh, do you want me to, I can share my screen. I have them on my screen if that helps.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Would that helpful? Okay, so give me a second here.
But have you guys seen the package? Have you seen what was originally proposed with the signage down on
I can show that as well.
26?
I think the LRC and the Community Council Board has seen it, but the other community members have not.
Okay.
And I think too, Bill, in what it is that you're saying, this is a process that, because members of this group do have an understanding of signage,
Right.
that's something to discuss here, so that when you do go to the zoning board, And, often if we're in agreement, it will go through, depending on, what other factors are in place.
So, so there's, like I said, that was my question. The zoning hearing board, will it soften the blow with your recommendations?
Yes, because I think what you'll be getting tonight is some recommendations that, some guidance in case if we're seeing that something is not is problematic, we'll share that with you now.
Okay.
Because we do understand the signage dimensions and what will be approved by zoning.
Well, if we could get the page up that shows.
Did you
the
get to my
R4
screen or no?
What's
Did it
that?
share? Did my screen share or no?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so you see the overhead aerial?
Yes.
Okay. So apologies, I'm gonna be looking this way, but I have like 5 screens for my computer, so I'm not zoning off into a different area. It throws people sometimes. So, the idea here, and a little background before I show, this project was a 6-year project, so we were trying to address all of the concerns we could over the last 6 years to make this function properly, because this is not a typical Rite Aid. And so by going on this corner, we were faced with some challenges here, in that there's a very limited view area for our signage. We have to, stay below the railing of the balconies, and we have to manage to lift up above the overhang above our front door. And so this has created a challenge which minimizes our signage ability, which puts us truthfully at a tactical disadvantage against our the other retailers in the neighborhood. We're struggling to be on even keel. So this signage is reduced, and what I'm going to show you next, this is the original package we submitted. We have pharmacy on each side, which we've removed. They're pointless. I took them off because it doesn't really add anything, and actually I think it takes away from the look of the building. So we removed the 2 pharmacies on either side. We stuck with the Rite Aid, but this is the idea, is that we're limited to a very small sign here. And so with that in mind, which is what R2 is. R2 is the sign I just showed you. So R1 and R3 with the 2 pharmacy signs, I've taken those off the table. We came up with an idea to put signage on the 27th Street frontage up high, so it's away from everybody else and has minimal impact on anybody else. So let me pull that down to, where is it? There. So this is the 27th Street frontage. So we put the sign up here because it doesn't impact anybody else. It's above windows, it's above sight lines for the majority of the building. It's off, away from, it won't interfere with anybody's quiet enjoyment of their space within the building. And it allows us to pick up a little bit of extra signage because our front door signage is really small in comparison to just Aldi across the street, or even LA Fitness across the other street. So that was the idea behind this. Since then, I've learned that the concern from, I believe it's zoning, was that this would be considered an off-site signage. And, I thought about this in the very beginning, and because this building is the way it is, and my parking here, the deal I've negotiated is I have this whole parking lot. All of my customers get validation in there. So it's technically all I can use that parking lot, and I have full enjoyment of it, and it's actually paid for as part of the overall development. And so this wall building, all this parking lot, it's all one owner. So from my perspective, I was thinking this was a single property. It would be considered not an off-site signage, because that was a concern I thought of early on. But my understanding, this is a BZA concern. So I've come up with alternatives. I still think this is the better way for me to have signage so that I could be competitive, but I respect that there's a concern about the off-site signage position. Does that make sense to everyone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Plus it's a directional to get you back to the parking lot.
Right.
Carson Street's a little bit of a hassle from time to time.
Right. People aren't going to know where to park and how to function here, because this has not been a use that's been here. It's been a use they've wanted here for 6 years, but they've never had it here. So the idea was it helped get people to circulate into the parking lot which has a greater benefit for everybody as well.
So I just wanted to ask, the parking, you keep talking about it. Are you gonna give an hour of parking or something to?
It's a 30-minute free validation for every customer. If you're a rated customer, you get 30 minutes free validation.
Don't I have 30 minutes if I pulled in there anyways?
No, you know,
I have 15? I think I've.
nope. No, unless you have an LA Fitness membership or some other business that has a deal, it's charged from the beginning. I just parked there a month ago just to check it out and make sure I wasn't getting the wrong impression. There's no validation at this particular parking garage. Now, other ones may have it that are further to the east, but this particular one, no, it starts charging from the minute you go in.
And then how do you can't go in the back into your store, can you? You have to walk.
Yeah, there's two ways. You
through the
walk
tunnel?
through, there's a breezeway here, or you could walk around. The breezeway is truthfully the easiest way to go and the most likely way that people are going to enter. That's how a lot of the people from LA Fitness go there. And so they'll come through here and then come around to the front, and then you'll get validation inside the store. So what we came up with was, so this eliminates the 2 pharmacy signs, puts our sign here. It still stays below the balcony. It's pretty minimal compared to our, like I said, the other retailers in the area. It's a small sign. I think it's 18 inches high, and it's just squeezed in there. And then what we did is we added this. We added a blade sign. I'll be honest with you, it is not my first choice, but it is picking up additional signage that doesn't interrupt the rest of this. And this is, I don't know if the landlord's even going to go with this. I believe he will, but I have to run through this past the landlord. It took forever to get the 27th Street signage negotiated. But this is the alternative that we came up with. I think the 27th Street is less obtrusive. It's just an easier, more sensible way to put signage, but I wanted to run it past you and see what your concerns were, and if the 27th Street could be preferred to the blade sign.
Well, I don't know the zoning language exactly, but isn't that considered an off-site sign? Isn't that considered a billboard then?
Correct. All off-premise signage is considered billboard material.
But it's whether or not it's an off-site sign though, right? That's the question. Is it truly an off-site sign, or is it part of the building, I guess is my question.
The code reads I've 40 years of doing with the city of Pittsburgh. They're going to look at your demising wall to demising wall, your actual leased property. And that's going to be the extent of your.
So that goes from this point all the way over, you pass further down the street there. Okay.
Correct.
So the blade
David,
sign is go ahead. I'm sorry.
David, that's a question you should probably ask zoning.
Understood.
Yeah.
But assuming that's the case where it doesn't fall into, if it falls, the other sign is not allowed, then we're proposing this blade sign. And actually, I'm probably going to request to move it to here, which would be our outside border, because this is where our space stops here. So it would be up here.
Mute. Okay.
And sorry, I'm Matt Brungo again. I have questions. I mean, the billboard aside, are there restrictions on height above? This is difficult because it's in the SP5, but it does face the historic district. I'm not familiar enough with the SP5 rules to make a statement on whether this is just going to fly or not. But at that height, is that height permissible? And are the letters within the size requirements that the SP5 allows? And I don't know if Bob or someone else with more experience or longevity with these issues could chime in. I just don't know. I haven't had to deal with this specific question.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll step in. The East Carson Street Historic District has its own East Carson Street Historic District sign guidelines, neighborhood sign guidelines. So to the point of what's over the awning, yeah, that looks compliant in that if it's maximum 18-inch high letters, that looks all right. And you're allowed a certain number. So you're allowed a wall sign and a projecting sign, and these banner signs that have come into the district since the district guidelines were written were considered sort of a variation on a projecting sign. They're held to the same standard. I think it's 9 square feet total, and the same letter size, 18 inches. The position has been sort of, for projecting signs, says they have to be below the sill of the second floor for the ground floor businesses. There have been some deviations to that, not approved. There is a blade sign down at the Federal Credit Union at 10th and Carson. It's up higher, but they occupy that entire building, first floor and second floor, I believe. So that's a little bit of a sticking point. We've had these blade signs and they kind of start at just above the storefronts at the first floor, kind of would be up along the second floor column there. And so it would be a little lower than what you're proposing here. And I think you're positioned down towards the edge, as long as it's within sort of the footprint or area of your tenant space, that wouldn't be necessarily objectionable. But if John or Jody, anybody else has a differing opinion, I think you would be allowed to have that blade sign. We could dither or finesse the location of it.
So I'm sorry, just so I'm clear, you're saying it needs to be lower, so it needs to be at this level here?
Yeah, I think it says, and we advocate to get them up high enough so that people don't whack them. So it's usually up above 8 feet or so. And if it was a projecting sign, meaning the more common one that's kind of straight out of the facade, not this kind of blade, or we call them banner signs, it would want to stay below the second floor sill, I think is what the guideline says.
Actually, I have the guidelines open here at my desk. Yeah, it's a 10-foot vertical clearance.
Right, yeah, it's just like the golden triangle is the same way. You got a 10-foot clearance to the bottom.
Yeah, 10-foot clearance and then up from there.
Yeah, 9 square feet max per side.
Yeah, 4 foot projection off the building.
4 feet off the building?
It should be 4 feet off the building.
4 foot max.
Correct, 4 foot max.
9 square feet max.
Correct.
Yes.
18-inch letters max.
On the 9 square foot.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in the Southside Works signage guidelines. So
this would require a variance if we wanted to do, if it was, I believe this sign's sized right, but assuming it's not sized right, it's not positioned height wise. Because what we're concerned, if we go down here, you have all those trees. So the sign really becomes kind of nebulous at that point because the trees block it.
Yeah, I feel you for LA Fitness, but they're not in the district. So they're
they're just outside the district?
You are the end of the district. Yeah, you're the lucky guy.
Now, Aldi's across the streets in the district, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
They've got okay.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Jackie. I guess there's a lot of outstanding questions here, and from a signage package standpoint, from a national retailer, do you have any other backup that has due diligence from your code research and elevations with dimensions listed, both from the side of the building and from a straight on facade elevation? There's a lot of randomness I feel going on here in the discussion, and I feel like there needs to be more detail in the presentation if you don't have that already.
You're correct that we normally would. We have the original package we sent in, which we altered yesterday, had all the dimensions and such that you're requiring or requesting. These new designs were more of a, how can we get a fix here and come up with, they make the best use of the time. If we're not going to get the 27th Street sign to work, I wanted to make sure we talked to and made the most out of the meeting and discussed this is an alternative idea. So then we would submit this package with all the dimensions you're asking about. So we'd update our package to reflect all those key elements that you're asking for. But I wanted to get guidance from you on what to do with the signage, because I didn't learn until yesterday that the 27th Street sign was going to be an issue.
Got it. Yeah, this is not as much a working session as it is needing to review what should be submitted. So that's just my opinion. I don't know how the LRC feels in order to give direction and move forward with what's been presented tonight.
Yeah, good points, Jackie. When they go to HRC, they would want all that dimensioning and better documentation, as you claim.
And to zoning, correct?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, zoning's gonna
Yeah.
require all the dimensions from grade to bottom of sign, grade to top of roof, grade to top of sign. Everything like
Yeah.
that.
And I think from the historic district guidelines, the off-site signage down at the end of the block, we wouldn't support that because, again, the precedent that would set in the district would set off typically these things set off a firestorm, and every other business would want to sign at the corner of every intersection to say, you know, Sky Bar that way, you know, Mario's that way. It would get out of control.
Can I ask a question? If the blade sign that we drew yesterday, that's up high, if you notice down on the lower elevation, I think there's either 3 or 4 existing brackets that were used for American Eagle banners.
Right.
Is that something that that Rite Aid could utilize?
It's a great question because I don't remember all those blade signs, what was originally on them and what was originally approved.
I'm pretty sure we put the American Eagle up originally. I'm pretty sure if I dug through the archives, I could find drawings showing, I think there's 3. There may be a 4th bracket behind that tree that had like the American Eagle logo on it, similar to what LA Fitness has across the street with their banners.
Right. That
Bill,
kind of skirts. Go ahead.
Bill, I just looked at Google Street View and there were 4, 2 on each side, 2 on 27 and 2 on Carson.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I couldn't see the 4th one behind the tree and the rendering that's up there right now.
Right. So as emblems or decorative items, they're probably all right. If they said Rite Aid, and you're probably starting to exceed your number of signs allowed in the district. So yes, you could put banners on those and they'd be more graphics, perhaps.
Maybe even just a Rite Aid logo, the mortar and
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, like just more of just our shield.
Yep, just the Rite Aid shield. Because I think, like I said, I think that the banner idea when it was American Eagle, they had their eagle on those 4 banners.
Mm-hmm. If you had a photo of that and that was established back with whatever application you could find, you could reestablish that precedent, perhaps.
Right. It was the Eagle logo plus the letters AE.
Yeah, that's what I would figure.
Yep.
Again, if you have that evidence that was approved before, I would say they'd probably let that go through again.
Yeah, we're looking at a street view from Google with that. It has it there. They also had American Eagle Outfitters on canvas awnings over the 2 side bays on each side of the main door. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice to have something there instead of just the brackets hanging out. So.
Right.
And I think it would be much better than the proposed high-rise sign as well. So.
Right.
Understood. And I realize that, so that's fine. We'll reapproach that. Do you want us to come back and present it to you again before we go back?
Normally, I guess I'll speak for LRC, but Barbara can chime in. We try to get through this meeting and highlight all the things because we're seeing it for the first time that would be an issue. And then invite you to come to LRC to work in more detail as a working session to get you in compliance before you go down to HRC. So we try not to make people come back through the damn process again. If at this moment, people agree that the sign above the canopy is more or less in keeping with the district guidelines, not objectionable, possibly redoing the banners would be okay with everybody in the community here. And we can talk about that projecting sign. It's one or the other. As long as you stay within the district guidelines, I would say there's no need for you to come back. We're all trying to get you in compliance to get to HRC and approved and to zoning approved.
Appreciate that. And that's what we want to do too. We want to be compliant. So
if anyone differs, please speak up. But
no, we just want to see the revised package so Barb can send a letter of support.
Absolutely. That would come into you. You'd see the revised package if we did the working session. So that would be covered there. Correct, Jackie?
Well, the LRC, Jackie doesn't attend the LRC.
Oh, okay.
So, but what we'll do is we'll make sure that we're in communication with the LRC. So that, if there are any additional questions, we can send them to you, and then also to the LRC.
And again, ultimately, you'll make an application to HRC with what you're going to present at HRC. That gets posted publicly 10 days before, so everyone gets an email blast that those things have been passed, posted, so everybody can go look at them then. Typically, there are sometimes changes even made at the last minute, but generally we see what's going to the HRC. That's the kind of public announcement that everyone can kind of see exactly what you're going to HRC with.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure we'll get everybody all the documentation. We'll get that all put together in short order. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I have
Dave.
no
Thank
idea.
you for your time. Yes.
All right, thank you. I have no idea how to give the screen back. So does somebody have to take it back?
Was there another
look-
attachment that was sent that was graphics and branding that was intended for the aluminum storefront? Did I see that in an email, Barb?
With the windows.
Yes. Is that part of this review as well? Just want to check because it was part of the
Yeah,
documents. that
thank
we
you,
reviewed.
Jackie. Do you guys
Bill-
know,
Bill, you want to speak to the graphics?
Yeah, I was kind of on the understanding that the architects already had their dam review a couple weeks ago for the interior build out of the store. Is that correct?
yes.
That's correct.
And this, I was also told that this window package was part of that, and they wanted us to add it tonight just to put it in front of you a second time.
No, we actually brought up that we wanted to know more about the windows at the dam. I can't remember exactly, but I know their other location on 23rd Street, they have pull down security shades, which we wanted to highly deter you from doing, and I don't think it's allowed in the district either.
We're not doing that. Yeah, we already came up with a different solution for that because of the last meeting we had.
Right. And then we talked about, are you going to put stuff on the windows? And they said, yes, but it hasn't been decided, or I forget the exact phrases, but we were hoping to see that again to make sure that it wasn't, again, too loud or too crazy. So is this it then? Is this what you're going with?
I'm
Or
on the understanding this is it.
Yeah.
Well, the actual photographs may change because it just depends on what our current
Branding
whole
is.
health images are. But
Mhm.
more or less, this is the concern from the graphics standpoint from the last damn meeting was the height of them, making sure that we left the openings at the top like Aldi does across the street, which is what we were doing. So we took the graphics, we didn't take them all the way up to the top so that you could see into the store. But these graphics really hide the shelving that's on the other side of it. So you need something as a backer. And then when we went through the dam the first time, that was discussed and everyone said, okay, but if you could leave the top open, that was what was preferred. So we said, no problem. We made that adjustment and left the top open. But the actual pictures, to be honest, they're likely going to change somewhat. I can tell you from my perspective, there's some tie-in to some other community uses there that we wanted to see if we had some whole health pictures that would tie into other uses. There's the daycare, there's the gym, there's other uses that we wanted to make sort of a community connection.
Mhm.
Mike, did that address your concerns?
yes, I don't have any issue. I speak to others. I defer to Bob and those guys if there's regulations about the windows or not, but I've seen wild and crazy stuff. So that's why I think at that last meeting with the architects, I asked to see what that was. This is fine by me, but Bob, do we?
Yeah, so they did go downtown, they did go to HRC, they got approval for the storefront changes, including the vinyl application, sort of what's seen. I don't know if this is exactly what was approved. I went looking through my files, but if that's what was presented. And they had removed a couple of the storefronts, like that one in the middle stayed clear. So they had downsized the amount of covering of vinyl to keep the interior open. So yeah, HRC was agreeable to what they presented here. So they have approval.
Mike, to address your concern, if there unusual pictures or loud or ostentatious kind of images, they're really just promoting health and diversity. So it's going to be soft softer pictures, people pictures, leaves, things along that line, something more of the just think of health and wellness. Those are the kind of pictures you're going to see up there.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's great.
So, yeah, they're not ostentatious or gaudy or wild and crazy. I promise that.
Cigarettes and magazines, you know.
No. In fact, we're pulling cigarettes out of our store, so that's not happening. So
good. All right. Thanks again. I think that was it. Anything else?
no, I really do appreciate your input. My apologies for not having a package earlier, but like I said, we just learned that there was going to be an issue with that sign, so we had to kind of put audible, and I didn't want to waste the opportunity to get in front of you because you guys had great input last time with the storefront. It was really relevant and helpful for us to get the project across the finish line. So I wanted to really tap into that same kind of knowledge base, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you making the change.
I do have a question regarding the vinyl work. You said that HRC has approved it?
I remember it being part of the storefront package. I'd have to go back and look, and it was posted on their website, so it may be still available to look at. But yes, there was the vinyl came up in that hearing, the vinyl was discussed, and something was approved.
Okay. My question, I guess, sometimes the city looks at the windows being part of the sign package. Will that count towards our square footage?
The vinyl's on the inside. My understanding that was not the case when we discussed that.
I want to make sure that sometimes they make it part of the,
No.
they're going to deduct from what you're allowed, your 40 square feet.
No, it's on the inside of the window. If it was on the outside, that's a different.
Okay, I wasn't sure in that section or not, in that district. So, one more question, in the architectural review, did they bring up any comments about the sign on a canopy and about any encroachment process needed for the historic?
They only discussed what you applied for. So signage wasn't part of the package. So that's what this is all about.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, separate process.
Okay, do you see a problem with, being as we had American Eagle sign up there prior, do you see a problem with the right?
Not a problem with HRC. I don't know any of the other zoning.
Okay.
The encroachment question is more of a zoning.
Correct.
Variance, right? Encroachment permit. So
Right.
Great question. I don't know the answer. I don't know if John, Jody, or anybody else, Matt, Mike.
It might even be a DOMI question if that encroachment is in the public right of way.
Correct.
But given that the sign structure is already there,
Grandfathered.
yeah, I wouldn't see there being an issue.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all very much. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Steve.
for your
All
time.
right. Bye all.
And, at some point, this will go to the zoning board, and as we work through the details, we can share that information. But again, additional comment can be made until the February 19th. And, we'll let you know when the zoning board is meeting on this particular property. And public comment, again, you're always available. You're always able to make public comment. If there's anything that you would like to involve the community council in, because then what we can do is, it may be something that we haven't thought about, but we then can share that with the presenters.
You mean as far as
So-
an idea? I'm not sure I understand them.
There's 30 days with the registered community organization, with the DAM process, there's a 30-day comment period. So you would not be able to set up a zoning board hearing until after those 30 days,
Right. Gotcha.
also with HRC. And so there's still time for people to make comment. We put this on our YouTube page. So people that are attending this meeting can also go back and revisit what it is that we've talked about this evening, and they may have questions, or someone who was not able to attend may view the meeting and then have comments. So we ask that they bring those to our attention so that, again, as we said before, we can be we're not blindsided at a zoning meeting where we're approving, we're in support, and then you have a neighbor that says, I'm not in support, nobody heard me. Similar to Bill, what you were saying at the beginning.
Right.
And the same holds true for the Historic Review Commission. That this will be presented there too. And that's on, I think, the next slide.
Right.
So thank you, guys. And we'll move on to our final presentation.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Really do appreciate it.
All
Bye-bye.
right.
Thanks, David.
So Corey, we're ready for you.
Perfect. Give me 1 second and I will go ahead and share my screen.
And this is, we're done with historic review, but we're dealing with the Southside Works plan here.
Yes, so this will go in the new Southside Works development for a Pins Mechanical company in Pittsburgh. So it will be one of their other new locations. And with that, I'll turn it over to Randy Roberti, who is the architect on this project.
How's everyone doing tonight?
Okay.
Appreciate your time. And I'll keep it relatively quick. It's a pretty straightforward scope overall. This is the old AMC theater over in the Southside Works district that's being reworked right now under separate permit, separate approval. The landlord and there was a previous Claudia restaurant and a wine bar on the first floor. They have both been closed and abandoned. So our particular tenant, Pins Mechanical Company, is coming in and taking those two spaces on the first floor, and they're taking that half of the building on the second floor. So kind of a two-story space. Pins Mechanical is an entertainment venue and a bar. They have duck pin bowling, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but it's shortened bowling, smaller balls, a lot more. It's a lot more receptive to the community. It's very fun to do. But they have arcade games, pinball games, fire pits. It's a very fun, just kind of lively vibe and place to hang out. So really what we're doing here is on the first floor, ground level, we're maintaining, you can see on the left, the existing conditions. On the right are our proposed plans. So that first floor, we're really maintaining the same patio that Claudia had previously on the northwest corner. We're adding a fire pit there, and the extents are pretty much staying the same. The second, and that's the enlarged plan you can see here. The second floor, the landlord had previously had approved a floor 2 patio on a previous roof terrace where there was rooftop equipment. They removed the equipment, they installed some patio pavers, and we will be installing some furniture, some built-in planters, and some decorative elements like that. You can see on this entry, on the first floor entry, we are actually removing one of the storefront bays. You can see there on the top left corner, and recessing an entry to create more of an entry experience. So you'll kind of walk through the existing opening and in through the double doors into the entry space. A couple reasons we're doing that. It's a long linear space. So getting people in through that narrow space was always a challenge, right? If you enter right at the end, it's a long walk across. So it lets them enter more on a centralized point and fixes some problems. And it also creates a point of emphasis. We're creating a little entry canopy you'll see here in a bit over that entry as well. You can keep rolling forward, Corey. Couple elevations, you can see the facade is staying almost entirely the same. I'll highlight the differences. The 4 windows on the entry tower, the previous entry tower, are the storefront is being removed, and are being replaced with operable windows, operable glazing systems for an indoor-outdoor experience. So aesthetically, when they're closed, it'll remain substantially the same visually, and then it'll just add that functionality. You can see kind of in the center on the top elevation there is a canopy with a sign that's projecting a couple feet out of that opening where we demoed the storefront and created the recessed entry. So that just kind of creates that focal point. You enter next to the tower and let that tower space be occupiable and more dynamic was the goal there. You can see on the second story patio on the upper view, we are adding a garage door for an indoor-outdoor bar that will address that patio. And then we are on the bottom view there, you can see there is a blade sign we're proposing on the corner of the building. And then a couple garage doors along the length of the building as well. And then finally, we're proposing a painting of the building. There's kind of a dated brick on the building currently. It's got an orange color. And the whole building is that same color, right? It's obviously the scale of a movie theater, which is pretty monolithic, pretty big. And in this district, our understanding of the goals of this district and kind of the revitalization of the area is to create a more energetic space, a walkable urbanism of all these unique experiences, tenants that kind of interact, play off each other, and have a very dynamic and just a visually appealing difference of tenants. So that monolithic building that was all the same color, shape, finish really conflicts with that goal of having this walkable space that has a lot of character as you move through it. So we're proposing a paint, taking our portion of the building a little darker to differentiate it from the rest. It helps break the building down into multiple scales. And we think it also makes the building pop, especially with some of the vegetation that's existing and some that we're adding in. So it creates a nice contrast between some of the vegetation and some of the and the darker paint color. You can keep rolling, Corey. So you can see the items we described, the entry canopy, the darker paint color, some white stripes around the perimeter to kind of break down the black. You can see the patio up top with some trees up there and an indoor-outdoor bar. Those indoor-outdoor windows on the entry tower, and then that patio that follows the existing extents on the first floor. So overall, that's the scope and the overall picture of what we're trying to achieve. You can see on the bottom of this rendering, there are two tenant spaces to the right. One says blue, one says Late Taco. Those are adjacent tenants, not in our scope, just so everyone's clear on that. We aren't painting them, they're staying as is. So any questions? With that brief description, I'll turn it over to you guys, and we can let you guys dig in and ask questions.
Hey, Randy, down the side on Tunnel Avenue there, do you have an elevation of that side? It looks like from one of the renderings you have oh yeah, is there a giant sign behind that second tree?
There is. So that part of the building currently, you can kind of see two egress doors there that dump out of a stair tower. But there were previously big billboards there with movie theater signage, coming soon type of advertisements that took up that whole space. We're proposing to pull those down and replace it with a hand painted graphic on the right on the brick. So kind of swapping out a billboard type graphic for something a little more natural applied to the building.
Thanks. And then these side doors that open up, are you having a railing or something to stop people from moving in and out on the left further down on the larger openings?
Yeah. Corey, can you jump to the elevation on that one, or the plan maybe would probably be a little easier?
Yeah, like those, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So those, they don't go all the way to the ground. The railing stops. You can see there's railing in front of it. You won't circulate in and out of those doors. There will be a knee height there that stops you.
Okay. And further down, there isn't more further to the right?
Nope. You have on the ground floor, there's those four openings you can see in that plan, the two on the tower and then the two garage doors on the side. And then there's two on the tower on floor 2.
So is there a liquor, is the whole place licensed for liquor?
Yes.
And,
Or it will be if it's not now. Yes, that's the intent.
and what are the planned hours of operation?
Planned hours of operation, I believe they open at 4 p.m. and they close at, Jared, you close at 2 currently?
Yeah, so we open up at 4 Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, we open up at noon, and then generally no later than 2 a.m.
It's a very interesting concept because it's as much a family joint as it is a bar. It transitions better than any concept I've seen. It'll be filled with 8 to 10-year-olds all day long, and then it'll transition later in the day. So it's very family friendly.
So, but if you open at 4,
Mm-hmm.
4 p.m. So I can't go during the day with the kids.
On the weekends you can. On the weekends they open at noon.
At noon, okay. Not during the week, okay.
So
And
this
what is
is
your, I'm sorry, Quaylen,
No, go ahead, Mike.
What is
Go
your
ahead.
occupancy? What did you assume your occupancy would be for that?
Our occupant count is, it's about 1,200.
And
no, that's not right. Is that right, Corey? Remember?
I
Off the
was
top of your
about
head?
12 to 13, I believe.
Yeah,
And parking for that is being handled how?
it's existing. It was handled and addressed in the landlord scope of work. So they clarified and made sure we had enough plan for it. This was a movie theater previously, which had a greater occupant count than we're showing here. The rest of the space is office space. The floors above and the rest of the floor we're taking. So the overall occupant load of the site is less than it was when there was a movie theater.
Okay.
So it's Quaylen. I just wanted to ask, what is it, or maybe I should say, is this a sort of a part of a branding for pins that you chose black?
A little bit branding. The black, the dark color fits well with their aesthetic and with their brand. But we also think it's a striking contrast to some of the architecture there. I think there's some variety when we research past approvals and the drawings and things that have been done for the development as a whole. One of the goals was having a variety of tenant type, spaces, and aesthetics to really create this differing walkable urbanism and creating this contrast in color really was a way to differentiate this part of the building and make it feel like multiple buildings instead of one failed movie theater that was a little large.
So is your next step from us, I mean, are you already zoned and has this received all the approvals, or is that your next step?
So we are in for permit. We received comments and we resubmitted a few days ago. We are on the agenda for the February 8th meeting and then the February 22nd hearing, zoning.
When you say movie theater, the theater wasn't really there. That was the Claudia, correct?
You are correct. Yes, there was Claudia on the corner we're looking at here. The northeast corner was a wine bar. And then the upper floor, which is half of our space, it was part of the movie theater.
And is the black paint going around the corner on 27th Street as well?
To the extent of our leasable space, I believe, yes.
Yeah.
It wraps the tower and stops at the edge of the tower, I believe is our extent.
I have a question about the how it transitioning from family to adult that happens at most bars that have families in them. Is there a time where anybody under 21 has to be out? Or do they can still be there, but with a parent? I mean, how are you guys addressing that?
Jared, do you want to speak a little to that?
Yeah, sure. So we have a hard cutoff at 8 p.m. that no one under 21 is allowed in there. But generally speaking, if you're in there and under 18 during the day, you have to be accompanied by a parent.
Okay, thank you. I was just worried about when it was the movie theater, Friday and Saturday nights, we had a problem with under 18s riding after they went to the movies. So I do like your policy. Thank you.
Yeah, they go into a lot of districts very similar to this. Easton Town Center in Columbus, Ohio. They're in Charlotte in some locations. We're going into Cleveland. They're in many locations that are very high end and that are very family oriented, and it works well from just different times of day, different perspectives, and stays safe in both scenarios.
And what are the different PINS activities that will be there?
So there's obviously several bars, but the activities in gaming, there are classic arcade games. So part of the brand it's pins and 16-bit. Pins Mechanical Company is the duck pin bowling and pinball. In duck pin bowling, as I described earlier, shorter lanes, very small ball, comparable to like a softball, and the pins are smaller, further apart. So it gives a really competitive, kind of fun take on traditional bowling. A little more modern, a little more contemporary.
It's a really easy game to play because you don't have to have bowling shoes. And it's also, with the ball being smaller, kids can play very easily. Instead of having to go over and pick up a different ball with different finger hole sizes, it's very easy for those kids to pick those up.
It's more addressable than traditional bowling. It's not this big event where you have to go out and get shoes and you got to find a ball. You just go in and you grab it. And you hang out with your friends and talk and relax while you throw the ball around. So the Pins brand has the pinball and the duck pin bowling, and then 16-bit is a bar and arcade. And they have, and you can see that on the top right corner, it's arcade games, classic arcades, everything Space Invaders, pinball, Pac-Man, Mrs. Pac-Man, all those type of games in there. There's something called the console bar, which has old Nintendo 64 type games where you sit down on a couch and you're playing your friend in Mortal Kombat or any of the old classic video games. So there's a lot of video gaming. There's skee ball in there. There's some bocce courts,
ping pong, ping pong, foosball, bubble hockey, anything that's bubble hockey entertainment that's easy for someone to play. That if you had an old memory, as say you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, as you were a kid playing, but then it's also great that younger kids can come in that haven't experienced this, that they're used to just digital games, that they can come in and get some more of these tactile games such as ping pong, foosball, bubble hockey, and other things that you actually have to tactilely interact with.
And there's some overscaled, interesting games too. Giant Connect 4 floating throughout the space, giant Jenga boards games all over the place that are 3-4 feet high. There's a giant light bright on the back side of the elevator. It's probably 11 feet tall by 15 feet wide, and it's a giant light bright, and the pegs are as big as they're 2 inches diameter and a foot long, and you stick them in there and it's like playing light bright as a kid, but on a massive scale. So just a lot of fun activities that encourage people to interact and have fun.
So it's like a high-end games in that, everybody.
Yeah, kind of a contemporary take on a gaming bowling concept.
I don't know if you know Games and Ads up here, used to be up on the hill here in the Southside. It was many a night there with my kids.
Yeah.
Do you get tickets? Do you get tickets and then you can turn them in for prizes?
There's no tickets, no prizes here. It's more about just encouraging the interaction.
Yeah.
And then the other piece here that's kind of the signature focal point when you come in are a couple carnival slides that go from the second floor down to the first. So they're big stainless steel slides, and it's kind of another fun feature. Quick way to get from the second floor down to the first.
Especially when you've been drinking.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Not to be confused with a water slide when people start pouring the drinks.
Yeah, the luge. Hey, this is Jackie. I have 2 questions.
Sure.
The first one, in terms of schedule, it says that you all have submitted for permit and you're submitting some comments back. When do you expect your occupancy and to open?
Well, we haven't started construction yet, so it'll be a 6-month construction process. once we get approvals. Assuming this meeting and the subsequent zoning meetings go well and our resubmission to the permitting to the building department goes well as well, too, we would hope to have approvals all finalized by like March 1, if all that goes well. And then 6 months from then would be kind of construction wrap up, probably 7 months till open.
Okay. And then are you from Pittsburgh?
I grew up in Penn Hills until I moved away when I was 10.
Okay,
and I
so
have family there.
you're too young to know that Pittsburghers hate to pay for parking. And we brought this up multiple times to our friends at Samara Road when we were talking through the developments that they were going to do there. And I believe we have an owner's rep on the phone as well, correct? Your occupancy at 12 to 1,300 people, and knowing that there are parking garages there, are you offering any kind of validation for parking? Because a lot of people that may drive down here, they would come and park in the neighborhood before they would across the street, have their 4 kids across Carson Street at the crosswalk at Aldi before they'd pay $5 to park in the garage behind there. So we are very concerned with the amount of draw of people from outside. Well, we want the people from outside the community to come down here and have the experience, but we're also worried about where they're going to park.
Interesting. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not familiar enough with the specifics of the lease to know how all that's spelled out. Jared, do you have any additional info on that?
I don't. I wish I did, but I really don't.
Could you find that out and possibly get us some feedback on it, whether yes or no?
Yeah. So you're just looking for if parking is going to be paid or not is really the
or if you're going to offer validation.
And there were times I recall when when Southside Works was booming, if you want to say, and you had the theater there, people going. There was a $3. You paid $3. It was after 5, and in the lot that was. I think it's probably the lot that the Rite Aid guys were talking about, but you only had to pay $3. And so someone was picking that up, may have been picking it up. But I was willing to park there because it was only $3 rather than going into the neighborhood. When I didn't live on Southside and I was coming down to Southside Works, $3 seemed to be fine for me. Now that was a couple of years ago, so maybe $5 or might still need to be $3. But sometimes that can be an incentive to in bringing people down. Although some may say the attraction will bring people down, but they'll spend more at your place if they are not spending it on parking.
Yeah, I'm speaking from other experience, so I don't know the answer here, obviously, as I said, but a lot of the town centers and developments and developers we've been working with lately are eliminating paid parking entirely to get people in. It's about how do you get people out of your house these days when you can buy everything from your couch and you can watch all the movies from your couch. You got to get people out and create an experiential situation, and Pins is excellent at that. And I think getting people in the door is what they're great at.
Mm-hmm. Another question also is what kind of food is going to be served?
No food. They actually do not serve food. They have some minor stuff just to in case needed from a liquor control standpoint. But they open their doors for any outside food. So you can bring it in from adjacent tenants. Adjacent places love to be next to them because they increase the business of everyone around them. You can deliver pizza there. You can go next door and walk in with the bags of food. They this location might not lend itself to it, but food trucks are always a huge staple of their business. So they encourage outside sources, and they do partnerships with local businesses to get food in the door.
you know, food trucks would be great. And, you know, there's empty storefronts. So, you know, an operation like this could very well be a draw for
Absolutely.
others to come in with food.
Yeah, there's those 2 leasable spaces right by the front door that would be perfect for some sort of fast casual concept.
Yeah, if someone throws one there, they're going to be doing very well.
They are. I mean, you know, people come here to Pins and they get hungry after drinking, and the surrounding businesses just they kill it.
If anyone wants to see, you know, what these places look like, you know, you go to the website and you know, you can see what they look like in different cities. And I understand there's one in Dublin. Is there one in
Dublin, Ohio? Yeah, the new Bridge Park development.
Okay.
Looks like you have 2 Google Street View or Google Map things open there.
Yeah.
Columbus,
so we can
Ohio.
show you a couple things real quickly. As she mentioned, there are virtual tours for all the locations, so it's very easy to walk through their spaces. They're a branding company first and foremost, so they're very good at presenting their spaces and you know, making them very visible. Corey, could we pull up the video walkthrough of Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh?
I know you don't have that up right now.
I do not. If you can give me 1 minute, I can get it open.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is there any, we have actually an animation walkthrough of this space that we can play for you guys real quick so that you kind of get a sense of the overall project. I think it might be helpful for you.
I might just pull up around me. I think it would be more friendly
That's
at the
fine.
moment.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever's easier for you. Are there any questions while she works on pulling that up?
There are a couple questions in the chat. One was about bike racks. Will there be bike racks available in this area?
The bike racks, the bike racks and the public spaces are all being controlled by the landlord. I believe they're installing sufficient bike racks, all that infrastructure. The median out in the road to the left in the view you're looking at actually contains is going to be a dog park. So there's a lot of that stuff that's being put in on the landlord end. I think that's been previously approved. Why don't you go ahead and head in, Corey, while we can continue to talk as she kind of walks us through.
Yeah, I know the signage guidelines in the historic district. I don't know Southside Works signage guidelines to whether you're in compliance or not. So we'll leave that up to the other authorities to check out when you go through zoning, I guess. Peter, I think, dropped off the call. He's a little bit more up on the Southside Works design guidelines.
No problem.
I think the sign guidelines would probably be in the land development plan, right? The preliminary land development plan.
Yeah.
And Peter has a good understanding of that. So
No, I'm here.
oh, there you are.
Are you there, Peter?
Yeah, I had to step away. Was the design guideline question?
It's sort of a big projecting sign on the corner there. It's so I'm just wondering if it exceeds size or there's any kind of comment we would make.
I mean, the city has it on their website. You just pull up the design guidelines and, you know, you go through them. It's not rocket science.
Yep.
Let me see if I've got to open my copy here. So there's a square footage requirement, square footage cap, quantity cap, height cap, you know, all the usual stuff.
So that's my only comment. Just read the guidelines and
read the guidelines.
Be ready to comply.
Yep.
That's a light bright right there.
Yeah.
And all the old school arcade games, not pinball, but these classic, are all free to play.
Yep.
And do you have pinball machines? They're also, oh, there they are.
Yep.
Yep. Can you head out to the patio, Corey?
And there now.
Thank you.
Do you plan on having leagues or any organized type scenarios?
We do duck pin leagues. We actually just started our winter 2022 leagues for sign up for other locations. So we definitely do leagues quarterly.
So that's a brief overview and walk through the space.
So does anyone have any other questions?
It looks pretty cool. Be interesting to see how many people that brings in, because it's just, there's no place like it in the city.
Yep. That tends to be the case with them. They're very unique and become a true destination.
And it seems to fit in with, as you were saying, what Samara Road is attempting to do with the, with the site.
Yep.
So you'll be going to the Planning Commission, is that correct?
That's correct, on February 8th.
Okay. And then you said zoning is February 20th.
The hearing is the 22nd of February, I believe, yes.
Okay.
How many places do they have around the country?
Jared, what's your count right now?
Oh man, let's see. I think it's 11 or 12. We have 3 in Columbus. Cleveland's getting ready to open up. Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Nashville, Charlotte, and some of those have 2 locations.
In looking at the dates that you've shared, because zoning is usually are on Thursdays, I think you may have a preliminary meeting with Planning Commission on the 8th, and then an actual presentation with them on the 22nd. Because
that sounds right.
That sounds right. Yeah. They usually have a briefing 2 weeks prior to the hearing.
Briefing and then hearing on the 22nd. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And Peter, you may know this, and others may. Is that where? Because I'm not sure you would necessarily need to go to zoning. I'm not unless you're at. I don't think there's a need, but the signage and all would be information for the Planning Commission, because they're looking at that, the Southside Works development plan.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm learning. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thank you all.
Anything else you need from us tonight?
No. And so this is the one project that will be going to the Planning Commission, and the same thing holds true. If there's any additional comments or questions that anyone has, what they should do is contact us at info@southside southsidecommunitycouncil.org. And, we know when they will be presenting to the, to the Planning Commission. That February 22nd is outside of the 30-day comment. So, they'll be, we can provide them with additional comments, up until that time. And so I think that's it. And so thanks to everybody who is on the line. Thank you for being our last presenter, and you stayed with us. You were there from the beginning, so you could see, I think, the work that we're doing here on the South Side, and that you, I think, can appreciate that we're a really great community.
Absolutely.
In which to be in. So thank you for being with us this entire time. And remember that the previous dams can be viewed on our Southside Community Council YouTube page. Sign up for our monthly newsletters. Our next dam is on February 17th. And I think we may have 2, if not 3 projects already for next month. So thanks to everyone for being in attendance and for asking such great questions and providing good comments.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.